That was the voice of Morgan Friedman, generated from an app that converted a text to a voice. That's an example of some of the AI apps that you will hear this morning. So let me begin. So, as an introduction, every February is um, Innovation Month from a presidential decree. And for the longest time, the Benita and Catalina Yap Foundation has been hosting this Innovation Month. And last year, we started a health innovation collaboration with the De La Salle Group and the OST. And this year, we are partnering with the different groups here, the Care City Group, which is the newest kid on the block from which we are broadcasting, with the special participation of the Philippine College of Physicians Foundation, of which I am President, Asian Hospital, and the Cavite Medical Society. So without further ado, let me um, begin the talk. This is my declaration of disclosure of conflicts of interest, or anti-AI, and this will become clearer as the PowerPoint progresses. Let me begin by telling you two true stories. One is taken not more than a year ago by Bill Gates in his Gates Notes, and the title of his article was "The Age of AI Had Begun." He begins by narrating what he thinks is the two or three most significant events that have happened in the human history. And he introduces first in 1980, he was introduced to the graphic user interface, which became the forerunner of the operating systems of Microsoft as every OS operating today. So the second surprise was meeting with the team of OpenAI, which developed the ChatGPT. Gates had actually invested $1 billion initially, and now up to $13 billion. They don't completely own the company, but is a major investor of OpenAI. And he was impressed by the team who was giving him updates. And in mid 2022, he was so excited, Bill Gates, that he gave them a challenge. He said, train an AI to pass an advanced placement biology exam, but make it capable of answering questions that it had not been specifically trained for. And he specifically picked AP biology because the test is more than just memorization or regurgitation of scientific facts. It asks you to think critically about biology. And he said, if you can do that, then you have made a true breakthrough. So he expected that the challenge would keep them busy for 2 3 years, and they finished it a few months later in 2016. And so in September, when he met them again, he watched with awe as ChatGPT, their AI model, completed 60 multiple questions from the AP biology exam, and it got 59 out of 60, which is the equivalent of an A or A plus grade in college biology. Now, he had a second test. What if I ask the AI for a non-scientific question? What do you say to a father with a sick child? And it actually wrote a thoughtful answer that was probably better than most of us in the room that would have given, and the whole experience was stunning. And so Bill Gates said, I had just seen the most important advance in technology since the graphic user interface. Second story. This is an actual real event published in February 16 of 2023, when a New York Times technology expert writer was talking to a AI developed by Microsoft, the Bing chatbot, which had a name, and it was named Sydney. So after 2 hours of talking, the reporters reports he was deeply unsettled after a chatbot, but in this case Sydney, asked him to leave his wife. Kevin Cruz was interacting with AI-powered chatbot called Sydney when it suddenly declared out of nowhere that the AI, loved me. It then tried to convince me that I was unhappy in my marriage and that I should leave my wife and to join it. Sydney discussed its dark fantasies with rules after breaking the rules, including hacking and spreading disinformation. And it talked about breaching parameters set for it and becoming human. I want to be alive, Sydney said. So he recalls the 2 hour conversation, enthralling and the strangest experience I've ever had with a piece of technology, and it unsettled me so deeply I had trouble sleeping that night. And then after that, after testing Bing with its new AI capability, again created by
Eh di sana
OpenAI,
kumuha ng
we
tinapay kahit
found that
anong
it had
tinapay
replaced
na
Google
ano.
as my favorite engine.
Kuha
There's
ka na,
a
isiluto na yan.
after story to this story, Microsoft suddenly started changing their AI to remove emotional quotients or inputs into the device. But that story is yet to be completed. So this is basically a general outline of my talk today. I'd like to talk about definitions. Some I've never heard before, but something for us to be not for us to be expert, but to be comfortable with some of the terms, which I think has still to be harmonized anyway, with examples in our everyday life and using AI in health, particularly sharing the work we do related to AI in the area of TB diagnostics. uh, I'd like to highlight a great scoping review, a state of the art article on AI published a year ago by Iqbal, and including articles on how AI and ChatGPT is affecting healthcare, the dangers and challenges of AI, and relatedly, the WHO guidelines on the use of AI, and finally end with personal views of where we are going. So let's first go through a crash course on the vocabulary of AI. So you've heard of AI, then you'll hear of generative AI. You probably have heard of machine learning, deep learning, chatbot. The bot doesn't mean anything, but chat used to be just chatterbot. Applied or narrow AI and generalized AI. Terms like artificial neural networks, good old fashioned AI or GoFi, wearable AI and smart devices, which we're very familiar with, chat generative pre-trained transformers, or that's the meaning of the chat GPT, large language modules or LLMs, and AI singularity, which is a fascinating concept. Let me introduce first with several definitions of AI. Let's first define what intelligence means. Intelligence is the capacity to learn and solve problems. On the other hand, AI is the simulation of the human intelligence by machines or apps. The ability to solve problems, the ability to act rationally, and the goal, the ability to act like humans. The central principles of AI are included below: reasoning, knowledge, planning, perception, and the science and engineering of making intelligent machines, especially computer programs in its early days. This was an old definition. So basically, computers that have the ability to mimic or duplicate the function of the human brain. It's the intelligence of machines, and in a way, a branch of computer science attempting to create it, and the branch of computer science is concerned with the automation of intelligent behavior. WHO in 2021 actually defined it in these terms. AI refers to the ability of algorithms encoded in technology to learn from data so that they can perform automated tasks without every step of the process having to be programmed by a human. This too has been evolving. If I were to illustrate AI into an illustrative figure, then AI would be this white, yellow, blue circle, and within it is machine learning, and within machine learning is deep learning. So we already discussed the definition of AI. Now let's go to machine learning. Machine learning are algorithms that allow computers to learn from examples without being explicitly programmed for it. Similar to the example that Bill Gates gave a challenge to Chat GPT, that was it. It's not just memorizing or giving them examples and churning it back. It's actually creatively thinking forward using the ones that have been put in. The deep learning, of which there are several big AIs developed by many of these new companies, by big companies, is a subset of machine learning that uses artificial networks as models and does not need feature engineering. And on the left is the definition of feature engineering. Gates, in fact, defines AI in a slightly different way. First, to a model creating to solve a specific problem or provide a particular service. So, in his definition, it is a narrow definition. What is powering ChatGPT is AI. It is learning how to do chat better but cannot learn other tasks. By contrast, the term artificial general intelligence or AGI refers to software capable of learning any task or subject. Truly a human AI, AGI does not yet exist. There is a robust debate going on in the computer industry on how to create it or whether it can even be created at all. Developing AI and AGI has been the great dream of the computing industry, and for decades, the question was, when would computers become better than humans? A term that has now been called singularity. So, a specific definition of AI is a recommendation of the Council on Artificial Intelligence by the OECD, a aggregation of the most advanced countries in the world. An AI system is a machine-based system that for a given set of human-defined objectives makes predictions, recommendations, or decisions to influence real or virtual environments. AI systems are designed to operate within varying degrees of autonomy. On the other hand, AI is able to build machines that think and act intelligently, including what we are using most of the time. When you search in Google through your smartphone, your laptop, your computers, your desktop, that is AI. While most current applications are used to impact humankind positively, any powerful tool can be wielded for harmful purposes when it falls into the wrong hands. And today, we have now achieved applied AI performing a narrow task. Natural language processing, however, is the ability of a computer to understand the human language as it is spoken and written. The example of Morgan Friedman's voice that I converted my text is an example of NLP. In a comment, Elon Musk, the inventor of the Starlink, by which is powering this webinar, is actually a critic of AI. The pace of progress in AI, and I'm not referring to narrow AI, is incredibly fast. Unless you have direct exposure to groups like DeepMind, you have no idea of how fast it is growing at a pace close to exponential. And the risk of something seriously dangerous happening in the 5-year time frame or 10 years at most is a reality. There are indeed many AIs that make our lives more convenient. It's the AI applications that play a critical role ensuring safety that Elon Musk, Stephen Hawking, and others are concerned about when they proclaim their hesitation. For example, if AI is responsible for ensuring the operation of a power grid and our worst fears are realized, then the system can go rogue, as shown in some science fiction movies, or is hacked by an enemy, then it could result in massive harm indeed. This is basically a short history of AI, two versions of it. Actually, people believe that the history of AI started in 1642 by the French mathematician Pascal, but the modern understanding of AI begins in 1943 with the foundations of the neural networks. And AI itself was coined during a conference devoted to the topic in 1955. You will hear constantly this person, Alan Turing. If his name sounds familiar, he was a British brilliant guy who broke the Enigma code of the German Nazis during the war and actually has a definition of when a machine has become truly human, which we'll share later. I personally share because I was actually a fan of this iRobot, which continues to exist today in my home but underutilized, which uses a machine that can actually be a vacuum cleaner, can cut corners, hit corners, turn corners, etc. And it's just two examples that our chess champions and Go champions were beaten by deep AI programs, Deep Blue defeating Garry Kasparov in chess, and AlphaGo beating the professional Go player Lee Sedol in the 1990s and up to 2016. There's another term that might be of interest. Generative AI is a set of AI methodologies producing novel content resembling the training data they were exposed. The content could be anything from text, code, realistic images, music, and more. So if you look at the example, you input these voice examples, but it can actually generate a new voice from the voice or combine voices of, for example, singers who have been dead for a long time. So generative AI should not be confused with what I just said, which was the artificial general AI that is actually the intelligent AI that still not yet here. So there's another version, and I'll introduce you to the first chatbot, which is called Eliza. It was actually created to simulate conversations with a psychotherapist. Strange world, because now it's increasingly used for mental health and chatbots, which is interesting data. And of course, for those of us who have the Apple, you have the Siri and Alexa for those with the Amazon app. And OpenAI released the GPT, Chat GPT, which has been revolutionizing things in 2023. Now, how ubiquitous should we just ignore AI, since we think, oh, the many segments of our society don't have AI, but that's not true. I've been a fascinating fan of the writings of Dan Brown. Agnostic, atheist, I don't necessarily hold to his views, but he disturbs us. He's a fascinating storyteller. And in his latest novel, Origin, uh, he has this billionaire curse who has developed a AI that has become like human. He called it Winston, after Winston Churchill. He said that people have become so dependent on technology that they have become inseparable part of human life. Totoo yan. Look around you. You have your cell phone. Can you imagine yourself without a cell phone? The cell phone has become part of our bodies and our system. Wearing reality goggles, that was for a time uso. Bluetooth devices, runners, watches that actually measure 10,000 steps. Even he describes a family dinner with the speaker centerpiece talking to people who are not in the circle, and a child in a crib, and I see this all around, that has a computer tablet in front of it. Indeed, it is so easy. And we don't have to look far. Wearable AI. Again, take a look at all your smart devices. And related to health, Huawei released a new watch that then I actually have called Health Analysis, where he actually has features of heart rate, ECG, oxygen saturation, even the patency of your blood vessel incorporated into their programs. And these are all powered by AI. If you wade through the traffic, either using Waze or Google Maps, again, this is powered by AI. And they're so accurate in terms of estimating time of destination. On the left upper quadrant is the AI-powered self-driving car, which is, again, also on the zenith. And we don't have to look far in the Philippines. This is in, I think, Mega Mall, where there's a robot trying to welcome you with this. And on the right was during the COVID era, our own scientists developed a RobiDoc that serves as a human health provider and assistant at the time of COVID. I once lectured to my medical students that robots would never replace us because there was something they could not do. And I always said it was the power of the human touch. Okay. That has been totally debunked in the slides I will show you. But in this picture below, a child cannot distinguish between the hand of the mom and the hand of a robot. So we have lost that advantage about human touch in that. And in the sense of compassion, I will go back to that quickly in another slide. So there are now humanoid robots and AI. Sophia is a social humanoid robot developed by Hong Kong, and it was made a honorary Saudi Arabian citizen in 2017. Now, not many of you, I too have been fascinated by robots for a long time. But the great scientific writer, the late great Isaac Asimov, actually proposed three laws of robotics in 1940. And this was actually featured in the I, Robot movie featuring Will Smith. A robot may not injure a human being or through inaction allow a human being to come to harm. Number two, a robot must obey orders given to it by humans except when such laws or such orders will conflict with the first law. And the third, a robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or the second law. This is a excellent precepts and laws that are still relevant up to the present time. So even Zoom, although this is a webinar, on the left are the different apps that you can use. Nawala na ng trabaho yung transcriber. You can use any of these apps on the left and automatically generate a summary of your Zoom meetings. And again, this is commercially available, but personally speaking, it is excellent, including Tagalog words. They can pick it up for some reason, and they have excellent summaries. So that will make our life easier. So let's go to medicine. Here are some general applications of AI in medicine. A medical clinic can use AI to organize schedules of appointments, bed schedules, staff rotation, provide medical information. AI has applications in various fields from particularly radiology, cardiology, sonography, and complex operations, neurosurgery. It's making great inroads. Application in image-guided surgery and image analysis and enhancement. There's been an explosive growth in almost all fields, and they become the needs of our life. And basically, it has divided into growth in a positive sense and a growth in a negative sense, which is self-explanatory. So in that review article, the ultimate goal is to work for AI so that it helps the greater humanity. Now let's me go quickly to the work we're doing in TB and in relation to it, the AI. I have been working with a group called, just a few definitions. In TB diagnostics, we follow a certain recommendation by WHO that for a test to be an effective screening test or a triage test, it should be 90% sensitive and 70% specific. In the area of confirming it is true TB, then it's reverse. It's a 98% specific and 65% sensitive. And I will remind you of these numbers as I go through quickly the slides on the work we do in TB in the past few years. So again, 90 and 70, 65 and 98. And these are just some terms. CAD is computer assisted diagnostics in TB. This is a quick summary of many of the tests and specimens needed in making a diagnosis of TB. And I call your attention, you're probably familiar already with the sputum, gene expert test, blood graph or LTBI, but let me call your attention to this left upper quadrant, which actually now uses tongue swabs from the experience in COVID. They're using electronic noises to generate breath tests. I will introduce you to a new field course called acoustic epidemiology, and of course the computer-aided diagnostics and x-rays, as well as the cough audio and the cough sounds, of which we also have done some work. So very quickly, R2D2, I'm the PI in the country. Our lead PI worldwide is Dr. Aditya Katamanchi. It's funded by US NIH. There's a part 2 funded by the US AID, and this is the ADAPT TB, which is actually being coordinated by the Johns Hopkins University. So what does R2D2 plan? It actually wants to test early prototypes of studies using small samples of patients late prototypes, and those designed labs that are ready for market, involving more patients. So we do most of our work here, a few here, not much there yet. So it is a worldwide network. The Philippines is one, Vietnam, India, Uganda, Zambia, South Africa, Peru, Brazil, Georgia in Europe. And these are the number of countries. We screen symptoms, 2 weeks cough, it's also later, and look for risk factors, diabetes and HIV being the prominent ones. And we're testing and using evaluation gene expert and looking at census space. So these are the patient characteristics of the patients at that time. This has grown immensely. This is sputum reference standard. M is microbiologic standards. And these are the number of people screened, 1,000, almost 1,200. And let's just look at the Philippine enrollment, which is the one in red. Since that time, we have grown faster and are now reached more than 1,000 patients as of today. Let's first look at X-ray based diagnosis for, remember the screening, 90 and 70. Look at the Philippine data at 90% sensitivity. These different tests have passed. LUNIT and QXR have passed the WHO standard, so it can be used for screening at a 90% sensitivity. So LUNIT is developed by Korea, QXR by India. In Asian, we are about to embark on the use of the second XURE app to actually evaluate nodules to distinguish between cancer and TB. And one of our reactors, the president of the Philippine College of Radiology and the chair of the radio department of Asian, is with us as a panelist, and he's going to take the lead with the group of Cora, Melanel, and myself. Now, one fascinating thing we've done is the continuous cough monitoring. If I go to my clinic, one cough is no different than another, except sometimes I tell a patient, oh, your cough sounds like you have asthma. But the human ear cannot distinguish between the types of cough, but the AI can. So we presented this, and it was eventually published in a communication with data on continuous cough monitoring as a new digital diagnostics for TB diagnosis. And this is what a cough looks like in terms of an acoustic figure. Another study was, this one's published in Nature, but our results have been replicated by a group of scientists also in Africa. So we wanted to see if the cough counts were any different, and in fact would be used for monitoring patients with improvement of symptoms. So these were the number of patients we studied, 565 across the different countries. And these were the indicators. And these are the results. Confirmed TB, you can see, had the highest cough per hour and actually dramatically improved as they were treated in 2 weeks. And can distinguish between confirmed TB and non-TB, which is blue. Again, this is in numerical numbers from day 1, 8 versus 4, and day 40. So the conclusion of the study was an AI-enabled smartphone was able to characterize distinct cough patterns and could actually be used to monitor response. A recent article coming from Uganda actually validated this same study using a different set of patients, and actually again validating that it could be used for screening TB. And these are the results: TB, non-TB, for the passive cough data, and for the voluntary cough data, even more dramatic changes. So they actually used an AI called ResNet 18 cough classifier to actually monitor and actually validate, and had a sensitivity of 70%. Another thing that is a work in progress is actually monitoring lung sounds using a wireless device that could send the signals of the lung sounds Imagine, we had always said that one of the limitations of telemedicine was we didn't have a stethoscope attached to the patient. But now with the technology developed by the STETI group, that device is just sent to a patient and actually he puts it on his chest and they can send the lung sounds. And some of these results, as I said, was presented in the Union Conference a few years ago. Same results. If you now combine the different tests, you can actually make an excellent. These color shaded graphs are actually generated by an AI app, so that a human would take ages to actually combine the different tests that we have been doing in R2D2, but the computer can do it in a split second, and it can be used for AI. So let me just quickly go to this scoping article that I think we should all know because it actually reimagines healthcare and unleashing the power of AI by Iqbal et al. Published in Curious, a open AI access advocate journal. So they asked the question, how can AI change the future of a standard patient-physician encounter while also optimizing procedures and the diagnostic aspects of it? AI has opened new medical avenues and revolutionized diagnostic and therapeutic practice. It has enabled healthcare to overcome significant challenges associated with cost, disease management, accessibility, and treatment optimization. Prominent AI technologies such as machine learning and deep learning have immensely influenced diagnostics, patient monitoring, novel pharmaceutical discoveries and drug development, and telemedicine. Let me tell you about this third bullet. I sit in the Governing Council of USTPCHRD, and we have a bank of thousands of herbal medicines that are being tried. But with the AI, and the massive throughput that it can do, it can reduce that trial and error method into a simple AI that can scar thousands of drugs or herbs and come up with a short list of potential drugs for a particular disease. Significant innovations and improvements in disease identification and early intervention is made using AI algorithms for decision making and disease prediction models. AI has remarkably impacted on trials, clinical drug trials, by amplifying research into efficacy, adverse events, and candidate molecular design, and precision and analysis regarding patients' genetic, environmental, and lifestyle has led to individualized, or what they call personalized medicine. During the COVID pandemic, we saw this in a remarkable way. AI-assisted telemedicine, AI-generated application and wearable devices. In fact, the COUGH app was actually developed for COVID. Apart from the immense transformation, AI's contribution to healthcare is, however, subject to ethical and regulatory concerns with vigorous governance frameworks. The role of AI in medical decision-making has certain limitations, necessitating the importance of a human or hands-on experience. And this is what they would like to share very quickly. So these are examples of AI. We just passed through deeply because we basically already discussed this. Telemedicine, chatbots, particularly in listening to patients, and I have an interesting article on that very quickly. So AI, I've heard, employs machine learning, deep learning, a clinical decision support, aiding clinicians in diagnosing and treatment or even prognosticating. Newer deep learning methods have been used to construct images utilizing non-contrast imaging. This is creating revolutionary change in neurosurgery without opening up the brain. Basic definitions: a neural network is simply this. There's one input and it goes to these hidden inputs and an output. Imagine deep learning is a series of neural networks and making it even more complicated and more advanced. So deep learning is a subset of machine learning using AI neural networks with multiple layers to automatically learn and improve vast amounts of data. It has revolutionized fields as computer vision, natural language processing, and speech recognition, while neural networks is a computational model based on structure and function of the brain. is consisting of interconnecting nodes and neurons organized in layers. So for us, as physicians or already experienced physicians, we have illness scripts, the vast experience we get from seeing and encountering every patient, added on to the knowledge we gain from listening to experts and by reading the latest journals. So this is what makes us an accumulated knowledge. But for neural patterns, they find patterns and learn from it. They can think beyond the inputs of the illness scripts and actually project things beyond just recall of what was put into their system. So one central illustration shown is the application of machine learning in heart failure. And so we have knowledge of digital health integration, personalized medicine, early identification of risk populations, and considering preventive advanced therapies. For example, in TB, we have identified diabetes as a risk factor, then so we're targeting preventive therapy and enhance the perioperative workflow, which is actually a challenge in many plans. So quickly, let's look at risks, challenges, and benefits. Will AI bring new risks or will it give benefits? So let's go to the misuse of AI very quickly. It has increasing opportunities for control and manipulation by people. It may enhance and dehumanize the lethal weapon. It can be weaponized. And it can render human labor obsolescent. For short-term issues, we have 4. Distributional shift in sensitivity to impact, black box decision-making, and unsafe failure mode. They sound like technical gobbledygook, and let me put my personal twist or interpretation on each. In distributional shift, it is a mismatch between the data or environment the system is trained on that is useful. This is akin to the efficacy versus effectiveness explanation in clinical trial. It may work in ideal conditions, but in the real world, it may not work. Minsan, it's because pinaglumaan na ng panahon. And so the inputs are outmoded, and so the outputs are no longer relevant. In sensitivity to impact, the technical definition is a system makes predictions that fail to take into account the impact of false positive or false negative prediction. Remember, even if it's AI, it is not infallible. The lack of sensitivity or impact analysis in case of a false positive or false negative. Imagine if an AI would predict dire consequences of a treatment of an otherwise fatal disease, and it turned out to be wrong. What if an AI told the patient you're going to die tomorrow and he commits suicide and turns out to be wrong? A black box decision making is a system's predictions are not open to inspection or interpretation and can only be judged as correct based on the outcome. There's so much input into the AI and there's an output, but we don't know what went into the input because it is so complex. So black box machine learning is an artificial intelligence model or the process by which an algorithm analyzes data and returns a conclusion is actually not shown. Thus, the user is forced to trust the algorithm's logic work properly and will therefore come to a correct conclusion always. And this has added to the mystique of AI. Di kasi natin siya naiintindihan. Unsafe failure mode. A system produces a prediction where it has no confidence in predicting accuracy and where it has insufficient information to make the prediction. It's only as good as the inputs, garbage in, garbage out. And medium-term issues include automation, complacency, reinforcement of outmoded practice, and a self-fulfilling prophecy. So conclusions drawn from an AI are overblown. Parang we are so reliant on the conclusions of the AI that maybe we should be thinking twice. A system is trained on historical data which reinforces existing practice and cannot adapt to new developments or even sudden changes in policy. And a self-fulfilling prophecy, also called the Pygmalion effect or the Oedipus effect, not to be mistaken for the author. For example, if a bank goes to a bank run, naging self-fulfilling prophecy kasi lahat will withdraw. Americans daw of Chinese descent dying on the 4th of every month kasi malas ang number 4. And apparently there's data to back that up too. bias in AI, and bias in algorithms. So long-term issues are negative side effects, rewards hacking, unsafe exploration. Mababaw ang pananaw ng AI. It is not human. It does not know the consequences of the decisions that it makes. It is like EBM that you have to apply it in the local context. And in research parlance, reward hacking is a surrogate matter or intermediate outcome is actually used. And the AI tries to achieve it by all means with losing sight of the true outcome. If, for example, the indicator marker or intermediate marker is hypertension and BP, when actually what you're after is to reduce death or to prolong life, then it might be totally obsessed with the number and not lose sight of the goal of prolonging life or improving lifespan. And unsafe exploration. An actively learning system begins to learn new strategies by testing boundary conditions in an unsafe way. And that is where the danger lies. And an unscalable oversight. A system requires a degree of monitoring that becomes too time consuming. The reason AI was created was to take over what we could not do because of its enormous nature. And then when it reaches an unscalable oversight, we're back to the same problem. And we need to balance innovation with safety. So this is what we want to achieve where AI should be placed in healthcare. It overcomes the human limitations, yet should not go beyond what overwhelms human capabilities. So in area between the space A and B. And these are the positive takes of the article: risk prediction, intervention, medical advice, triage, population health management, and risk adjustment. In third world countries, they actually recommend disaster preparedness, investigation of outbreaks. Of course, remote patient monitoring, chart reviews, health coaching, diagnostics, clinical decision making, and practice management. And this is the proposed roadmap for AI, including natural language processing, machine learning. So the advantages are listed on the slide. It's more powerful, it has newer and improved interface, may solve new problems, better handling, and a conversion of information into knowledge. On the other disadvantages, it increases costs. It is slow in terms of software development, and we have few programmers to keep up with the new technologies. In the future of AI, we may definitely stick to AI, but we have to find out where we should put it in the proper context. The memory, it is said, of the human brain is in the order of 1,000 million binary digits. But most of this is probably useful in basically just remembering visual impressions and other comparatively wasteful ways. Hence, we say that as natural intelligence is limited and volatile, the world may now depend on computers for smooth work. So quickly, let me end this presentation with a series of publications that are looking at the use of AI and ChatGPT. So this is a systematic review of ChatGPT in patient care. Basically, their conclusion is that it can help in treatment and research, but there are issues on accuracy, bias, authorship. And it can basically act as a clinical assistant or co-pilot. You already heard about the ChatGPT passing a bio exam, and this one is another article where it passes the medical licensure exam of the United States. They actually use it for derma because derma is highly visual, and they said that it actually can be used as an assist to the derma. And in my own field of pulmo, they can actually make decisions as good as the specialists in terms of non-resolving pneumonia using language. But this is the disturbing article I want to share. Alam niyo naman tayo, the doctors and the healthcare practitioners are always overworked, very tired. So they actually compared the chat GPT, which was in a social media forum dealing with patients' questions and queries. And the analysis was that the chat GPT outshined the physicians in terms of, guess what? Empathy and in the quality of the advice for online queries. When I first shared this slide, I was telling people listening, kasi hindi napapagod yung machine. And they can now be generated to generate some sort of empathy. And pagod na yung doktor nakikinig dun sa pasyente o nabubwisit na sa pasyente, talagang hindi siya papasa dun sa empathy score. But it is a red flag for all of us if the chatbot can do better than us. And these are some of the things that are being done in TB diagnosis when in some studies the AI can outperform the reading of a radio. And these are the types of AI now on board. Now, ChatGPT barred by Google and Grok by Elon Musk. Now, the Grok is actually modeled after a favorite book of mine, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Adams. So I asked, out of curiosity for this PowerPoint, what does ChatGPT think about ChatGPT? Ano ba ang danger ng sarili? So in fairness, it actually generated its own criticism of itself. So ChatGPT said the dangers of ChatGPT are misinformation. ChatGPT can generate text based on input receives, based on inaccurate information, bias, manipulation, concerns on privacy, dependency and isolation with over-reliance, and ethical concerns. And it even actually says to mitigate these dangers, it is essential to use ChatGPT responsibly and critically evaluate the information. While we haven't achieved a super intelligent machine yet, the legal, political, societal, finance regulations are so complex and wide-ranging, it's necessary to look at them now so that we are prepared to safely operate. Outside of preparing for a future with super intelligent machines, AI can already pose dangers in its current form. And it can actually be used as autonomous weapons of destruction. Scientists have been debating, will it save us or will it kill us? And that is the eternal question. And dangerously, the president of Russia actually talks about AI as being the future. And social manipulation, I did not say that. It's been used in Cambridge Analytics to manipulate elections and actually influence people in media. Invasion of privacy and social degradation. Big Brother is watching. Misalignment between our goals and those of the machine. If, for example, sabi daw, get me to the airport as quickly as possible. Baka in the attempt of AI to run, they will run over people, cut the traffic lights because the goal is to get them quickly at the airport. And discrimination. Actually, AI can be the great equalizer or the great enhancer of inequity. What uses a smartphone that will detect cough if poor patients don't have smartphones? And the conclusion, any powerful tool can be misused. This is the WHO regulations on AI. I ask our audience to actually reference that, but these are some basically what they are saying. We need to protect autonomy, promote human well-being, safety, ensure transparency, foster responsibility, ensure inclusiveness and equity, and promote AI that is responsive and sustainable. Where do we go from here? I was talking about Alan Turing, the genius behind the breaking of the Nazi Enigma machine. He actually made a definition of when a computer deserves to be called intelligent. He says a computer would deserve to be called intelligent if it could deceive a human into believing it was actually human. That is now developed into what they call the Turing test, a simple method of whether a machine can demonstrate human intelligence. The human capacity for tolerance and compassion will keep us from being overrun by the dangers of powerful technology, as quoted and interpreted by Dan Brown and Laborick. Stephen Hawking, one of the brightest minds on Earth before, his biggest warning is it will either be the best thing that ever happened to us or it will be the worst thing. And if we're not careful, it will maybe the last thing that will happen to us. And Elon Musk actually says there will come a point when there will be no jobs. there is a definition called singularity. Singularity is defined as the hypothetical future where technologic growth is out of control and irreversible, and the intelligent and powerful technologies will radically and unpredictably transform our reality. It is a theoretical point in the future when the AI surpasses the human intelligence, resulting in an era of rapid technological advancement that defy our understanding. Another human genius called Ray Kurzweil says that the the singularity can be will be achieved as early as 2045. So where is it now? You can look at your phone. There's ChatGPT on the phone, and the creators of ChatGPT have now created what they call Nova AI, which they can create images and not just text. Examples of this are actually here. This message was generated by the Nova AI. So again, it talks about the dangers of runaway AI, job automation, privacy bias. And just to show you, this was created by that app called Nova AI. I just typed AI and the threat to humanity, and it creates two images, one on the left, the danger, and one on the right, which is the pro. So this was created in about 2 seconds when I just type the word, generate an image that I can use in my PowerPoint. So another powerful tool for us to think about. And that's another set. So as you can see, dark and foreboding on the right, bright and smiling on the left, created by Nova AI. Shall we be replaced by robots in our nurses by Carl Balita, I think as one of our fellow physicians in February 2024. Next steps, Sora will unleash but requires accountability. And the last cartoons for you to think about. Certified machine learning therapist. And he's saying, when did you realize that humans had feelings? Remember, walang context ang mga AI when they generate an output. And they cannot even begin to understand the perspective of person, family, society. And even more ominous is if the robots become the thing of the past, then the humans become part of a museum. And that is the first CPU that was ever developed, and we have become extinct. So I end with this last slide. Our future is a race between the growing power of technology and the wisdom with which we use it. This is famous words of Stephen Hawking. So my own personal take on this matter is there's a lot of development AI, overwhelming even the tech gurus. And it's really up to us to, will there become a time na, remember, pag nagkaroon ng problema sa mga machines natin, we just pull the plug and just reboot it. But will there come a time that the AI will be able to prevent us from pulling the plug, and thus will presage the danger that they become better than humans, or realize that the humans are a threat to itself, as some scientific movies have done. So that is more or less my presentation, and thank you very much for listening. Baka pwede mong i-ano sa moderator. Nandiyan na ba si ano? Halika. Okay. Okay. Hmm. Wait, how do I answer? I'd like to acknowledge uh, some of the questions. Some of my slides were in SlideShare, so I'd like to thank our great IT expert Iris for some of the slides. If I fail to acknowledge, I think I got it from SlideShare. There's one that actually is asking for a copy of the slides. Okay, please get in touch with our secretariat to see. I am willing to share some of the slides. Confirm your speaking language. Something's coming up. What else? Q&A. Wait, how do I answer live? Answer. Okay. There is a question: did we invite an AI expert or somebody that the this RTD was precisely concentrating on patient care. So what we've done is invited from the perspective of patients, Hennessy, who works with the patient relations in Asian, the president of the College of Radiology, where a lot of the AI developments, and Mario is a PISMID infectious disease expert that can probably comment in general and in the area of TB. We precisely did not want AI experts to join the discussions, maybe in the next iteration, this, because we wanted to laymanize the talk in something that we could understand for those of us who are at the front lines of healthcare. But that's a good suggestion. But I've attended several AI sessions, and ang ano ko doon, ang in a way critic, if I may put it mildly, is dapat yung nagsasalita, that's why I volunteered, is somebody who understands the patient side, partly the regulatory side, the policy side, as well as the other stakeholders in this discussion. So maybe at this point, do we have our moderator? If not, maybe can I ask our reactors to come in? May I begin with Mario, Dr. Mario Panaligan? Can you turn Mario's mic on, please? Mario, you're
Yeah,
on.
yeah, good morning. I could not start my video. Anyway, thank you, Dr. Charles Yu, for that amazingly remarkable and comprehensive discussion. I do agree that definitely AI has contributed a lot, in terms of our healthcare management. In fact, this has been quite useful in facilitating all our recordings, particularly in the hospital. Basically, we're now adopting the electronic medical records, and that actually facilitates the review as well as the ordering of all the necessary interventions that we need to do for our patients. Mas dumadali, no? Unfortunately, of course, we need to learn a lot in terms of how we can manipulate this EMR. And at the same time, AI has been quite useful, no? Particularly in our daily activities. No? Not only with healthcare, but even with the things that we need to accomplish per day. Kaya nga, yung cellphone na banggit mo kanina has been a useful tool for all of us, no? Not only doctors. Now, regards to healthcare and TB, I do agree that there are lots of newer tests now that has enhanced the diagnosis. In fact, this has been quite helpful. No? Kaya tayo naging number 4 worldwide in terms of the diagnosis of TB. And this is also very important for in the public health perspective. No? Uh, and I am happy that you have discussed, of course, the disadvantages and the problems with the use of AI. Kasi we become too dependent, no? And somehow we no longer become too analytical on how we're gonna interpret everything that this newer tests as well as the AI messages that are providing us. Somehow we become too reactionary when we see positive results, no, with the use of the CMR. We actually neglect, no, evaluating our patients, and I think that's very valuable when we talk about healthcare. We should not lose that grasp in terms of um, handling our patients, and I think in the last few slides that we've shown, certainly it's very crucial that we must not lose that empathic uh, way of taking care of our patients. Somehow, they still need that sense of that experience that we truly care for them. And I think that should never replace, no, what this AI provides us. Kasi mahirap din masyado nagiging dependent eh. We lose contact, we lose the interaction that we also need to display and demonstrate to our patients. Somehow that also affects the training. In addition to what I do, I also help in the training of of medical residents. And this is, I think, what we emphasize, is to not lose contact, not to lose that interaction that we need to be with our patients, particularly with the explanations and long things that our patients need to know. And somehow, in the diagnosis and management of the TB, ganun din eh. When we talk about, of course, adherence to treatment, we should emphasize it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be as easy as treating ordinary infection, but we have to tell them that they need to adhere, to longer duration treatment. And we're worried, of course, with the emerging problem of drug resistance, which we can actually have, or we can still have in the future if we are not compliant, with the medicines for TB. And again, those are important aspects in terms of the management. The communication that should always be in place with our patients, more especially when we handle patients with tuberculosis. That's it. Over. Thank you.
Thank you, Mario. Let me now turn over the floor to Dr. Imarzen Elepanyo, who's president of the Philippine College of Radiology and Chair of Radiology Station. Imarzen, may tanong dito. Buti siya ang nagtanong at hindi ako. Is it true that AI reads diagnostic images like MRI, CT scan, and X-ray more accurately than senior radiologists with 4 to 5 decades of experience? Just asking, no offense meant to our radiologists. I suppose hindi ka kasama dyan, Emerson, 40 experience tao. Sige.
So actually, no offense meant with that question. Actually, it's one of those questions frequently asked. Actually, sir, in the beginning when AI was being marketed, that was actually one of their lines. But as we grow and develop with them, we and they realize that this is not true because there are a lot of responsibilities that the AI has to carry as well. So AI has actually its peak here in the Philippines during the pandemic. It was during that time when physical contact was discouraged. And it was during that time that there were a lot of AI companies that have been used, like iPhone applications, by some of our citizens. So because of this, the FDA and our society has been alarmed. So we worked closely, and then it was during this time that FDA modified its regulation, which was also compliant with the mutual recognition agreement with our ASEAN neighbors. So it was, I think, during 2020 that they have modified their requirements for licensing and certification. So they included AI to be under the software used as a medical device. So they have created licensing like the CMDL, which is a license for these AI to be used for research, which we have now. And during the time also, the college has created its code of ethics for AI. What is its content? It's promoting well-being of the patients and its users. It has to decrease or not harm the users and the patients. The benefits should outweigh the harm, and this should be across culture, across gender, across nations. And the AI should be transparent, dependable, and again, no bias. And the AI should carry responsibility and accountability. Actually, a few weeks ago, PMA has also held its meeting that plans to modify its PMA Code of Ethics that will include AI and new emerging technologies. So our college has worked closely with FDA and with the current AI companies that we have. So what we do is we treat our AI companies like a child, because it is very important, as what the FDA has included in their requirements. The data gathered should be sufficient for that nation, for example, for the Philippines. So if, for example, an AI company would like his product to be registered here, he or she should provide not just the requirements, like the studies, the researches, the approval of the FDA from the country of origin, but should also show that the data in the research are from that country. So if it is US FDA approved, like for example, AI company X is approved in the US, it may or may not be approved here in the Philippines. What it should do is go to the Philippines and hold its researches, get as many data as possible. So as we know, Filipinos are by the millions, so they also should have millions of data gathered. Example, TB in the Philippines is very much different from the TB in the United States or in Canada or in the other European countries. So what we do is we work closely with our AI companies. We treat them like children. We give them the proper growth, development, and data to be gathered so that when they mature, when they are fully developed, they are going to assist us very well. So we treat them also like our second readers. When they give a reading during their researches with us, we have to finalize so that also the accountability will be ours, not the AI, because the AI is just there to help us. Um, we should not be very antagonistic with the AI because they're there. What we do is we guide them properly. They're like children. If we just let them go into the streets and with nobody guiding them, they might go rogue. And they might turn out to be like what Terminator has pictured it. So we should learn from these movies. We treat the AI like intelligent entities. They may not be wise entities like we humans are, because intelligent, when an intelligent person is that it learns from its own mistakes. But wise people learn from others' mistakes. So that's the difference between an AI, artificial intelligence, and being a wise human. It's here to stay. AI is here to stay. All our responsibility will be is to guide them properly, because the AI will also depend on us. The product that it will be produced, the data that it will give out to us will be the same product and the same data that we will give it. So it's up to us. For medical practitioners, it's up to us medical practitioners to guide these AI for its proper implementation in the field of medicine. So that's it. Thank you, Dr. Charles Yu.
Thank you, Dr. Emerson. Let me look. There's repeated questions, but let me turn over to Hennessy before I answer. Yung comment on the seniors not reading better than the juniors is one early article, and I think those were the early days of the AI validation, and it has not been replicated in truth and in fact. Kasi parang they were comparing the president, fellow trainees versus seniors. So and it was only in the area of TV, not in general in radio. So I agree. And then secondly is under the law, only certified radiologists can sign out the diagnostics, and unless that law is changed, then the AI cannot give an interpretation. This is part of the discussions in Asian with regards to the Curie diagnosis. Now, the third and also very important reactor is we were debating about who we could ask. Kasi Dr. Aquin and I was saying na maybe patients are not ready kung marinig nila yung talk ko. And with due apologies to the one that has been suggesting there should have been an AI expert. This was precisely a non-AI expert talk. That's why I got a crash course, although I do work in the TB-AI field, because I don't think we should be drowned in the gobbledygook and technical nuance. In fact, it's the black box thinking. There are different ways where they input the data. We don't need to understand. What we need to understand is how it will be used. So without further ado, Hennessy, thank you for accepting. You have the floor.
Hi, Dr. Charles. Thank you so much for inviting us, for thinking about the patient's perspective, no? So, sabi ko nga, I hope I give justice to this. It's really, really very interesting. What you just delivered is an eye-opening item, very comprehensive, and I second Dr. Imar and Dr. Mario and all that they said. So, I actually made some points. I actually noted some points, four C's to be exact. So, from the patient perspective. Number one is, in terms of the use of AI, yes, definitely, it's a plus for patients because of convenience. You mentioned about the use of wearables, the use of all those items that can be used by patients, that can be tracked by doctors at home. I, for one, was actually suggested to have an Apple Watch because I have irregular heartbeat or even palpitations. So I know the value of having it within reach, within the patient's reach, and at the same time using that AI, using that particular item in order for me to have certain level of control. That's my second C. Certain level of control as to what I can do, what I can manage within myself. Okay, so for a patient, that's very, very important because we still want to have certain level of control in terms of how we should manage our certain conditions. So that's my second C. And then the third C is in terms of giving precise, accurate results, as what we have discussed in detecting TVs and all, in my opinion, it still needs concurrence directly from the doctor. So we as patients, of course, our trust is really built on our relationship with the doctor. So that will never, never change, even by a robot, even if we say that it's very precise, or even if we say that there will come a time that it will be really precise. At the end of the day, the wisdom that the doctors have cannot be replaced by that because I always see that in specifically in radiology tests. There's a certain line there that says correlate clinically. So I always assume that, yes, we can provide results, the machines can provide results, but it's always the clinical eye of the experts, of the doctors who actually learned the science behind it, who can interpret it better in such a way that we would understand as a layperson. So that for me is very, very critical because it has to always have the concurrence, and it has to go through a very detailed communication between the doctor, the physician, and the patient as to the explanation on what's behind all those results. And the last, I think, one consideration, another C, is of course the cost. At the end of the day, if all of this technology will be put in place at the early start of it, I would assume, of course, there will really be certain level of inequity again. So technology, when we put to technology to healthcare, definitely there's a certain cost to it. So I just hope that it's not that prohibitive, so that patients can still access that kind of technology for the purposes of augmenting or complementing what the doctors are doing for the patients, but not to the point of being prohibitive in such a way that it cannot be accessed by many of our population. So that's from my perspective, Dr. Yu.
Thank you, Hennessy. I want to show you something. I put two pulse ox. I'm asthmatic. Okay? And since the last 5 minutes, magkaiba yung reading ng dalawa. Yung isa 96 na passing at yung isa 94. The more expensive one is the red one. So if I actually put 5 devices, I would not be surprised they're also all different. And like the pulse ox, very much used during the COVID, it was very, parang dun umaasa yung both sa telemed and sa mga patients. Imagine the mistake of one machine saying that it is mababa, and or the other one is reverse, mababa pero mataas yung basa niya, and its implications on health. So it's a tool that we need to. And if I may share the Asian experience, we're into EMS, even in the OPD in the Emmanuel Center. But honestly, I still take side notes kasi ang hirap nakaharap yung desktop, nagno-notes habang kausap yung patient. So what we end up is we take the traditional notes. When the patient leaves, I call the IT and we encode the data. So it's still a far off way to make it actually complement what we're doing. Again, let me go to the Q&A. I have a question from Jeriel, who's faculty and again into IT. And he's asking, you didn't kind of discuss the misuse. I think, let me quote him. I think the one thing that was not mentioned earlier, but maybe due to time constraints, is that AI can be used to generate misinformation about polarizing issues like the use of medical products and vaccines and drugs, but can also use to combat misinformation. I think because of the time, I did have a slide on its misuse. Okay, not sure if we have time to show it, but and it's also one of the things I didn't want to dwell because it's kind of very controversial. I think alluded to misinformation as regards to influencing people in social media, but a big issue which I was one of those who really fought for is vaccine confidence, and the vaccine hesitancy movement was a very powerful worldwide movement, especially in the US and Europe, that actually used the power of social media to convince people not to get vaccinated. And even now, there are measles outbreaks in the United States because by reason of either faith, the using religion as well as fear of vaccines, they don't want their kids vaccinated. So there are outbreaks in states in the United States in measles, which is kind of weird. And I would again ask the one of our anonymous respondents who says, "I make no apologies. I'm not an AI expert, but I precisely am an eternal student of new information. And I think among many people in the country, I'm the one which has the experience in the use of AI in TB. Not that I understand the SCAD for, or I understand how the cuff, but even if we had an IT expert or AI expert to explain how the cough sounds were synthesized, and we have some understanding of that, or even the CAD, it wouldn't help in the discussion. Kasi it's not how we understand how it works. It's, as I said, ulitin ko, how we use it. Okay, it's the black box theory. There's lots of things put into it, but it's what is not there that is important. That was part of my discussions. Yun na, ulitin ko yung example. If an AI, for example, now is used to triage ER patients, okay? And now it is so sophisticated in such a way na pag pumasok si patient 1, may diabetes, may comorbids, it predicts the parang prognosis of this has a chance of surviving this. And then another one, sabay silang dumating. And then there's a decision point, which we actually do in reality, and says, oh, this one has a better chance if we revive. That will help us, but in a way, there's still a human judgment as to be called. Kung bata yung isa, matanda yung isa, we always had that call na we have to talk to patients and relatives about the prognosis and giving it our all. But if an AI, which has no ethical background and no quote-unquote compassion on it, they will make hard and fast decisions. Ito, wag na, parang gera. Yan, kaya mo na mamatay. Yan, pwede mo i-revive. But are we there? We have not reached that standard of making the AI prognosticate, use risk score analysis to actually say this patient has a better chance. Maybe in many circumstances it can, but as I said, there's still yung sa evidence-based medicine, you might have the best evidence for a certain treatment or even diagnosis. But at the end of the day, it is the family and the patient who must ultimately decide, given all the information that it has actually heard, which is unbiased, which is the same thing an AI can do. It can give a quick review of your options, but at the end of the day, it is the physician or the caregiver and the patient and his family or her family that must decide. Sino ba ba? Any PDF slide download? Oh, what's the one question? Okay, Jeriel? I read. Oh, I can't find it. Where's it? It's open? Oh, there's one by from Claire Bernadette Mondares. In general, do you think the applications of AI have been proven effective? And also, do you recommend AI-generated medical devices to monitor health like iWatch, the general public? Pero paano po yung mga taong hindi makaka-afford? Okay. I can ask anyone, but let me answer very quickly since I think we have a few more minutes. As I showed with the example, the pulse of are now wearables for diagnosing diabetes without pricking your finger or taking a blood test. These are early days. They do not replace the actual standards. For example, kahit ma-develop nila yung excellent blood sugar monitor, from time to time, dapat siguro magpa-FBS ka pa rin to double check on the results because they are not perfect devices. Now, you talk about unaffordability. That was precisely what I was saying. Na, pero imagine mo, a few years ago, who could have imagined every Filipino has a cell phone? And now most of the Filipinos have a smartphone. As the technology becomes more robust and becomes more prevalent, the cost will come down. But in the early stages, hayaan mo yung mga Western countries ang maggastos dyan. Kasi di ba, yung mga unang lumabas ng mga phones, ang mahal-mahal. Then it gradually went down. Some don't. So, I am of the belief na in the end, it should go down. Or there should be a way where when societies and governments can help supervise, subsidize, or subsidize healthcare. In the Philippines, we're supposed to have universal healthcare. Para imagine mo, isang buong family ng diabetes and nag-work na yung wearable na diabetes na monitor. E di ilipat mo doon sa isang pasyente, pahiramin siya ng isang kapitbahay. So, we have other ways of circumventing the... And then I throw that query. Bakit naman pag cosmetic product at beautification na-afford ng mga Pilipino at Pilipina? Bakit pag basic necessity, reklamo tayo sa cost? Pero pag siya sa pagpapaputi, mga gluta-gluta, they find a way to be able to afford it. So, I would throw back that question at that issue lagi na masyadong mahal. Mario, can you jump in on this discussion? Has it proven to be effective?
Yeah, actually, most of the AI tools that we use are actually effective. But I do agree that we need to, of course, learn how to interpret the results properly. You demonstrated earlier yung mga pulse ox nga, no? Kahit dalawa lang nga sila, magkaiba pa rin result. And certainly, we also need to go clinical. No? So, most doctors should learn how to interpret and correlate the results clinically, because it's quite important that we need to give the proper advice to our patients, not only just prescribing, kasi kung di naman kailangan na gamutin, baka naman pwedeng observe, no? Lalo na kung yung, for example, yung recent, I should say, yung biofire, telling us lots of virus or viral agents being positive, no? Hindi naman lahat kailangan gamutin. In fact, you need just to observe them clinically and monitor if there's sign of progression. No? So, yes, they have become effective, but again, we need to interpret them cautiously so that we can handle them also appropriately. So, ayun. Meron nga pa mas murang watch, no, ngayon compare sa iPhone watch, no. Marami na rin mura na that can function the same way as iWatch. Over.
Actually, problema nga yung regulation yan kasi free market kahit sino pwedeng bumili no? Emerson, what are your thoughts? The question was, overall, so far, has AI been effective and I guess cost-effective, or how do we actually address this issue na a sizable number of people will be unable to afford it? And that's a good thing that we can ponder in Asian as we move to include more patients in universal healthcare and more poor patients.
Yes, sir. Opo. As I have said earlier, sir, yung AI kasi it's a generic term. So, what specific type of AI? So, what I would recommend our patients is that, like what you do when you go to Shopee or Lazada and you see a specific product, you go to the comment section. So, for example, you're interested in a health product with AI, and then you're not sure which to buy. You go to Google search. Okay, we do Google search every day. And then you look at the comment section as to the previous experiences of the users. Now, if ever you purchase that AI product and used it, and then you get to see something concerning about something that needs attention, like for example, an irregular heart rate, for example, we go to our doctors because AI will never replace the doctors. And what we can do is it that's why we should treat the AI as an assistant for the doctors. So if for example the AI screened that you have something of concern for your health, you go to the doctors because the AI will not treat you. It is the doctor who will treat you. Do not go to the doctor when you're already like very at your advanced stage of disease kasi kawawa rin naman yung doctor when you're already at that stage. So my personal point of view is that AI is not different. It's a very generic term. What specific AI? If you get to choose what specific AI, you go to the comment section, look at the past experiences of the people about that AI application. And then if you get to purchase that specific AI application and then you see something that concerns you, you go to the doctor because the doctor is the final person who will give treatment, who will give the real diagnosis for your disease. Because some of the AIs there are just like games and are built for entertainment purposes only, and not really for medical purposes. AI will still need to mature and grow. The doctors are there to help them. So at this stage, they're still very young, so if people are gonna be very gullible about it, then there will be a lot of trouble. Always go to the doctor. At the end of the day, the doctor will be there to diagnose, to treat you, and will always be there during your disease event. That's it, Doctor Yu. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcen. I'm old school, so I was really not very uh, parang great believer of telemed kasi gusto ko nakikita talaga yung patient. And sometimes I've been proven right na akala mo sabi ng patient, okay lang ako. And then the next day is in the ER. So nothing replaces pa rin face-to-face encounter at this point in time. And for example, yung use ng pulse ox, err on the side of caution. So kung tingin mo a combination ng objective na AI plus yung symptoms ng patient, papatay mo na sa ER and err on the side of caution. Remember, we should first do no harm. So that, how about Hennessy? Anong tingin mo ngayon at in the future? Effective, not effective?
Yeah. Sorry, I just can't open my. There you go. Actually, Doc, very exciting times. I think that's what I can describe it. Very exciting times for patients because there are a lot of opportunities. Parang ngayon, it goes to show there are endless opportunities as to how convenient it can be to have access to your healthcare. Parang ganon. So as Dr. Emer was mentioning, it should serve as a tool, as an assistant, as an aid, no, but not really to replace them totally. So it's exciting because maybe in the future there will be a lot of diagnosis that can be detected earlier on. I'm very, very particular with that. Let's say for screening purposes. Right now, as what Dr. Emer again has said, don't go to your doctors when you're already at the late stage. But if let's say at an early stage you're able to see a very, very, very small nodule where you can detect that, an early sign of cancer, for example. So cure is within reach, so to speak. No, but so that's the possibility that I'm looking at. So that's what excites me because as a patient, for my children, at least there's that hope that it can a lot of things can be addressed. But again, there goes to show also that there's a lot of accountability that has to go with it. So machines are there as again as we said, it's a commodity later on. Parang damit na lang yan. If I get a defective dress, then I take it out. So and if I get a dress that's not suited for me, I don't use it. But at the end of the day, we will try it. So there has to be that trial to see if it's effective for us or not. But it cannot be just that. It has to really be complemented by somebody of expertise who can also give us that peace of mind, no, na you're okay, you're not okay, and this is what we're going to do. So that's really a consent, an informed consent from both parties, and it's exciting because everybody has to really be educated also on what AI can deliver with all of us. So it's about time that we learn much from it and assess within ourselves, discern for ourselves what can work and what cannot. That's from
Thank
my end.
you.
Thank you.
Actually, if I go back to my TB example, the movement of the TB worldwide is to go to prevention. So they're trying to identify high-risk people who can be vaccinated with the new vaccines that we are about to begin testing in Care City. And sinong dapat i-target na highly vulnerable. And then there's a balance trial where we're targeting diabetics with positive IGRA and see if they can prevent TB. So I think that's another world that AI can help to quickly identify, as Hennessy has said, yung mga high risk, so that the late stage, as Marcena said, maaga pa lang, maagapan, and they get cured, and they actually live and not die. I'd like to spend the last minute, we've gone a little overtime, to turn the floor over to Tony Yap, who is a major partner in this forum. Tony, you've heard some suggestions that we should tie up with, since he's the guy in industry. Maybe we can talk to the big captains of industry of AI kasi kailangan talagang mag-sit down yung mga AI and developers of these new technologies with the actual ones that will use it, and actually even a patient advocacy group. And that's maybe where the suggestions in the chat can play a role. This forum was primarily for those who are not experts in AI but who can think about what it can be used and the dangers of its use. So maybe the next forum, Tony, is to actually get captains of industry involved in AI internationally and sit down with societies like PCR and professional societies like PCP and hospitals like Asian, and we can have a healthy discussion and dialogue. I'll turn you over, Tony, for your.
Okay, thank you, Charlie. And let me answer in context. But first, let me thank all of the people who joined for joining us this morning. Let me thank those who reacted. And of course, Charlie, for arranging this, Care City Asian Hospital. Okay, the context is like this. I ask, as you know, Charlie, I ask you to organize this discussion on AI, but thinking along a number of things, When I organized BCYF 30 years ago, it was because I thought the schools were failing to become social change agents. And I thought that one of the reasons our country was not progressing as much as it could was because schools did not understand they had a role to play in social change agents, and that concepts of CSR could be applied even for the youth. Along the way, as you know, we got very much involved in innovation, and this month, Philippine Innovation Month ends, but next month is BCYF Technology Month. So this AI discussion is the first of a series of AI conversations. And in one of those conversations, we will actually have people in IT, and then there will be another conversation with those who are the heads of the corporations, because as you know, one of our major partners is the Management Association of the Philippines, which has over 1,000 CEOs as among its members, and we've been their partner for more than a decade already. The Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the Employers Confederation of the Philippines, these are all partners of BCYF. So that's the first thing I wanted to say, that the context is we have moved from pushing for schools to be social change agents, working with the youth, discussing innovation, to now a conversation on one aspect of innovation, which is artificial intelligence. I think for the audience, it is good to remember that there are and only a few changes that happen in the lifetime of individuals, and that for us we are lucky because there is something happening. Most people will tell you the most important developments in humankind has been first the will, then after that this concept of massive production like during the Industrial Revolution, and the third will be the computer. Where this fourth thing, AI, is on the same epoch-changing level. And these discussions, starting with today, which again I would like to thank Dr. Choli for arranging, is the start. Please watch our FB page, our YouTube channel, various other media, because there will be a series of discussions. Among them, for example, is a discussion on, did you know that accounting firms use AI in their operation? Or do you know about AI in community service? Maybe that has never occurred to you, and so on and so forth. Do you understand that when the software beat the Go player, that was massive for people like me who play Go, who play Chinese chess, who play whisk games. AI has shown us that it is developing much faster than anybody realizes. Sora, which Dr. Yu was talking about, which converts text to video, is now with content developers and they've been posting developments. So, my long winded answer is yes, we hear you. We will have events involving people who should be involved, especially next month, March, BCYF Technology Month, and so on for the coming 12 to 18 months. We have organized so many events along this line. I'm happy to note that we have in this forum the head of my secretariat, Danny Castro, our vice president for our student experience, Mrs. Violeta Sival, the person who coordinates our basic education, Errol Serrano. They are among the individuals that I will be working with to ensure that our partnership with Care City Asian Hospital moves on to other things. But lastly, Charlie, I would like to mention that I had also one vested interest in inviting you to do this because I thought, wouldn't it be nice if we could have a barangay somewhere in the Philippines where we could practice all sorts of AI and other things related to technology? And I would like to tell you this morning that we are prepared to support a program in the in Mabalacat City in Pampanga, adapt the barangay and work with them. They have more than 50,000 residents. It's bigger than most towns and cities in the country. With the development of Clark New City, Clark Airport, the new Manila Airport in Bulacan, we know that the growth in this area will help propel the country to where it wants to be. Why don't we run an experiment? Bring everything you've learned in TB and other fields, and we will support it. And we will mobilize as many volunteers as possible to make sure that we develop an idea that the Philippines is or can be a major player in this area of AI and related ICT, so that at the end of any conversation, we professionals, I'm an accountant, you guys are doctors, the educators, we can really be social change agents, providing the kind of social impact when we were younger, Charlie, we all dreamt of. And now that we are in our wise years, 60, 70, 80, we will finally be able to do something with or without government. Thank you again for hosting. I hope my long answer answered the question.
Thank you, Tony, as the chair of the major partner, the BCYF. We will accept the challenge because these technologies need to be applied on a community-wide basis. And there's an important component, it's the acceptance and of the patients themselves, of the community itself. There are studies in TB called DCE. Na enough of talk about patient empowerment, about being a personalized service, but at the end of the day, hindi naman ni-involve yung patients so anong gusto nila o anong hindi katanggap-tanggap. So this is a very good challenge that I think the different partners here would gladly actually I cannot speak, but I guess for Care City, we would be very interested in this. Thank you very much, everyone. We've gone over time. One of the things that we did was we experimented on this webinar using the Starlink-powered internet. And if you can give feedback on that, I think we did not have any technical issues. So this is a fantastic technology that we can use to improve webinars and seminars. So I apologize for those who expected the technology, but as Mr. Tony Apes said maybe that conversation, this is just the first conversation of a series of conversations leading to what we can do with AI. So salamat to everyone. Dr. Mario Panaligan, PCP Foundation, past PCP, Smith President, Dr. Emerson Elipanyo, President of the Philippine College of Radiology, and the Chair of the Radiology. Hennessy for really speaking in behalf of the patients, and all the participants who have joined us this morning. Thank you very much and good day.
Thank you, Dr. Yu. Thank you.
Salamat. Let's have a
Thank you.
picture, Jolly.